Hello everyone! Welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. My name is Jessa Blackthorne, and as you can see today, I am a still image. I'm having some technical issues, but we have a great show for you today, and I did not want that to get soured by my technical issues. So we're here, we're ready to go, we're gonna have an awesome show. I am so excited for today's show. So today, we have Christian Marcussen, who is the designer behind Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition, and he is here on the show, and he's going to talk to us about Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition. I am so excited. This game is going to be amazing. For those of you who are not aware, we announced the release date yesterday. It is going to be coming out on October 13th, 2021, and it's going to be fantastic. It is so gorgeous. I have seen this game in person. It is amazing. We just posted new photos to the WizKids website, so go over there and check those out if you haven't already. But, without further ado, we're going to dive on in to today's exciting interview where I am a still image and Christian is on video, and it's great, and it's going to be awesome. All right, here we go. Hello, Christian! Welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Better than you, I see. At least I'm moving.
Yes, well, hopefully the camera issues will be resolved for next week. I thought I had them solved. Oh gosh, you can see my hands. I thought I had them solved. I did not have them solved. And, like I said a few minutes ago to you, life happens. And, we're going to keep going. We're going to have a great show anyway. Real quick, before we get started with the questions I have for you, I want to remind everyone watching, this is a show about board games. I can't really answer any questions about D&D. I can't really answer any questions about, RPG, other product lines. Keep an eye on WizKids social media. That's the best place to get answers to those questions. But if you have any questions for Christian about Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition, now is the perfect time to ask. Type question in all caps into the chat, and I will keep an eye on that and see if I can pass along any of those questions to Christian, who will be able to answer them for you, hopefully. But why don't we get started with, I think it's the most basic question. How did Clash of Cultures begin? Like, what was your moment of, I want to make this game?
Well, I do all kinds of, small designs to, see what works and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do a Civ game, and Clash was one of the games where when I did the prototype, the very first prototype, very crude, sat down with a friend here, actually, in this room, and immediately when I played it, I knew that I was onto something. So that was the eureka moment when what I had, had in my head actually made a lot of sense when playing it. And from there on, it was just, tweaking it because that was quite a big deal. But, but it was just from there on, I just knew that I wanted to do that game, and it just, took off from there. And that's something that, to me at least, is kind of rare. I do a lot of things where I don't get that feeling of okay, this is going to really be something. So yeah, I wanted to do a Civ game, and I wanted to do a game that kind of captured that feel that some of computer games was able to give you in a Civilization kind of game. Yeah.
So you actually mentioned that relates to my next question. It's, often compared to the Civ video games like Sid Meier's Civilization. So clearly you took inspiration from those games as part of your design process. What were kind of how did you want to integrate those ideas and those inspirations into the game? Like, what made you say, this is the kind of game I want to make, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, kind of. I think I'll try to reply, and you can.
Yeah,
just,
I can clarify further if I need to.
Okay. Well, those games, those computer games, they just have a certain feel. that I knew that I wanted to capture. The whole thing of, starting with your little villager and your little village, and then, moving out into the world and exploring the world, and then seeing this empire that you're building, see that grow. And that was the main thing that I wanted to achieve, that, that sense of growth, and that sense of seeing the things that are in front of you. Because at the time, and kind of also now, there are a lot of good civilization games.
Right.
But I wanted mine to be very, I wanted you to have your empire in front of you, not just, abstracted as cards or something. I wanted, each city to matter. I wanted its location to matter. It's the buildings that it had. These had to matter. The choices you make about what kind of buildings, what kind of units, what kind of advances that you get. I wanted these choices to really matter, and I wanted, a really strong visual representation on the board.
Right.
So that was kind of what I went for. That was what I felt that I could bring to the board game world, if you will, that I hadn't really seen done in the way that I wanted to play it.
Gotcha. That's exactly what I was asking. So perfect. So can you talk more then about your the overall design process of, creating the game kind of from start to finish?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a big game.
Yes. Well, when I design games, a lot of the time it's in my head. I play it in my head, and I have these ideas, and then I try to work them out in my head.
Right.
And as I said, I wanted it to have a really strong visual representation. So I wanted cities, when they grow.
Yeah.
The many games would do something like you have different size of pieces to show that the city's growing, but I wanted to I wanted to have that sense, but I also wanted to build the cities, the buildings that you choose to build there actually matter.
Right.
So I combined the two by having these when a city grows, it is visually represented by a type of building that you add to the city. So once that idea kind of popped in there, then it's went from there. It's such a simple idea, really, but it works really well to give that sense of growth, but also to not just be a size 3 city or a size 2 city, but actually matter what you've built there. And then another important thing was to obviously the whole the advances, or the technologies, as they're called in most games. That system had to be developed. And one of my inspirations, or one of the games that I played a lot at the time, was Twilight Imperium, the third edition. And I haven't played the fourth, so it might have changed. But the third edition, which I really loved, but the technology system was based on a lot of cards that you had a deck, and then you had to refer to the back of a rule book to see, do I have the prerequisite technology to buy that technology, and things like that. And I wanted to solve that. I wanted it to be something that all the players had in front of them for two reasons. One, just for the player themselves,
right,
to make it easier, but also so you can see across the table what advances do my opponent have. And that, something like that was really hard in a game like Twilight Imperium, because the cards look the same, so you had to you don't want to look too much, because then they know that you are planning something.
Right.
But yeah, so developing a tech tree that, on the one hand, it had to make sense. There had to be some kind of logical progression in the advances that you got. But I didn't want it to be too rigid. I wanted players to be able to navigate in their choices, so they don't feel like they've chosen a path and then they can't deviate from that.
Right.
And that was quite a design challenge to to give that kind of freedom to say, okay, now I want to develop this kind of technology, but it has to, it has to make sense in terms of what other technologies do I have. I can't get navigation before I have fishing.
Right.
Or I can't get cartography before I have, fishing, stuff like that. And the way I solved that was that I did these categories. That there's one, to stay with the maritime theme, there's one called maritime. And when you get the top advance in the category, then you're free to choose the remaining 3 advances there. So I made sure that, the top advance of each category was kind of, the basic thing to get you started. And once you had, that technology, then it doesn't, it doesn't seem odd that you could get the other technologies, rather, than having a very rigid system where you have to have 5 technologies before you can get the 6th. But here you have that kind of flexibility, and I wanted to do that. So again, the tech tree, the way that that's done is done with a player board in front of each player, and again, a very simple idea once you see it done, but it took quite a lot of work to come up with that way of solving the problem. And and then once those things were established, how the cities work, how the advances work, then the rest was easy peasy.
Gotcha. Yeah, would you say then that kind of figuring out those, like, coming to that decision of making those categories was your biggest challenge, was getting there?
Yeah, well, I would say that and then the cities, those two were, what I was thinking a lot about. How do I achieve making a technology system that does all the things that I want it to do, and then then all of a sudden then it just that's how you do it.
Eureka.
And then yes, exactly. And then it just makes sense.
So what would you say were the biggest surprises you encountered when you were designing the game?
The biggest surprise was actually how well the first prototype worked. As I mentioned before, that was just, as I said, I haven't tried it since.
Right.
That sense of, just nailing it. The first time it was just, wow, okay, this does exactly what I wanted to do. And now I just, had to modify it. That was the biggest surprise. Along the way, I started out, the base game, it doesn't have civilizations. It just has, you can look at the game when you're done, and then you can see, I'm kind of like the Greeks, because of the advances that I've chosen. And then, I don't know if I was surprised, but then there was a massive interest in having these civilizations, having Rome, having China, having Greece, and I'm kind of surprised that this was such a big desire. But I understand it now, and once they're done and now playing with the expansion, which is part of the Monumental Edition, it makes total sense that people wanted that. But it was one of the things when I did the game, it was kind of a kill your darling thing. I had to, to make the game playable, I had to cut something. And then that was what got cut. But then it just, made perfect sense to have it as an expansion when you already know the game. And then you can introduce these civilizations and extra units and things like that.
So you mentioned the historical civilizations, the historical figures that are present in the game, and there's a lot of those in the game. What was kind of the process of researching that like, and integrating those like into the game in a way that was maybe accurate to what you learned, or maybe not accurate to the history, but felt right for the game? What was that kind of process like?
Well, I had a good foundation to do it, because I'm kind of a history buff and a civilization buff. I've read a lot about how civilizations develop and how they fall, and history interests me quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
Roman history and things like that. So I had a good foundation for doing it, and then
Mm-hmm.
there are all these computer games that to give me ideas of what kind of civilizations could I throw in there,
Right.
and then it was just a matter of researching them, and then also sometimes deciding that, okay, I can give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Carthage
Yes.
with Hannibal, that have they have the elephants, and in real life, in history, the way it played out, a lot of the elephants die,
Mm-hmm.
and Hannibal coming over the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
lots of dead animals and dead people doing that. But that was one of the places where I said, okay, I know that this is how it was, historically, but still
Mm-hmm.
Carthage is so famous for the
Right.
elephants. So I played into that, well knowing that that's not historically accurate, but
Mm-hmm.
it gives the feel, the sense of Carthage. So the
Right.
process was kind of finding the balance between what was historically accurate, but
Mm-hmm.
also what feels right, what makes sense thematically. So yeah, that was a process with that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, it worked. It works very well in the game, so I think you did a great job with that.
Thank you.
Um, you also worked on another classic board game that everyone loves, and that's Merchants and Marauders. What about your kind of process with, Clash of Cultures was different from your process with that game, and how did you use what you learned when you were designing Merchants and Marauders to inform your process for Clash of Cultures?
Yeah, good question. Merchant and Marauders started as a friends project.
Okay.
That was just me and a couple of friends goofing around, saying, okay, we want a pirate game. We don't care if it takes 12 hours to play. Who cares? We don't care. We're just having fun. So it was that was kind of just a hodgepodge of just throwing everything in there that seemed piratey,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing a game. It was really uh, what should I say, complex
Mm-hmm.
in the way it was done to begin with. And then we kind of decided, okay, let's release this, and as you do,
Right.
and we at the time there was no Kickstarter, so we
Mm-hmm.
looked into financing it ourselves, and we actually planned on doing that. And when we went on Board Game Geek with it, and the interest was huge,
Mm-hmm.
and there was also publisher interest. And when that process started, then it was there was a kind of streamlining process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if anybody else than us has to play this game, we have to fix it. We have to do something. So there was cutting things away and making the game manageable and playable for a wide audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that because with Clash, I knew that it was a commercial product,
Right.
and I still very much do the game that I want to do. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have done the game if I couldn't do what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this, I had it in the back of my mind that
Right.
if I can't do a 14-hour Civilization game, even though I would love to play it myself, but I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there was much more of a and for the better for the game, but much more a presence in my mind about streamlining,
Mm-hmm.
about how do I, in the simplest possible way, convey this thematic thing,
Mm-hmm.
this thing I want to be part of the game. How do I do that in a mechanically simple way, the simplest possible way?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that mindset when I did Merchant and Marauders.
Okay.
And I kind of fixed Merchant and Marauders to have that mindset, but it still has a few remnants of
Mm-hmm.
what was there. So that is totally different design process, totally different mindset.
Right.
And for that reason, I'm also I love Merchant and Marauders, but I'm proud of Merchant and Marauders in the sense that it has had an impact
Mm-hmm.
on the board gaming world.
Right.
it kind of set a standard for that kind of sandbox game. So I'm proud of that aspect. But Clash of Cultures, I'm proud of as a game,
Right.
as a piece of design. I'm very very happy with how it turned out, and especially the Monumental Edition, where I had the opportunity to go in and change a little bit here and there and really get it perfect. But so totally different mindsets.
Gotcha.
For the two games.
So let's talk about now the process of the Monumental Edition. The original, of course, we've said it several times, it's considered a classic board game. It's a classic in the genre. So what made you want to create a Monumental Edition, and what were your kind of design goals for things that you wanted to tweak for this new edition to make it the best it could possibly be?
Yeah, well, the game, it had another publisher, and the other publisher, I don't even recall how that process was, but I think that the game, they didn't want to republish it, and I think the reason was that they had been bought and they had some competing games with other franchises, and I got the rights back, and then I was sitting actually eating, having some dinner with Sev some 4 years ago in Copenhagen. And I just, casually said to him, "Oh, by the way, I have the rights for Clash of Cultures," and his eyes were like, "What?" Because he was the one who originally published it, and he said he wanted to. Can we do that? Yeah, sure. Let's do it. And then it was just then we had to redo the art. We had to redo a lot of things, and then it gave me the chance to go back, and because the game has been tested and tested and tested and tested, the old version, but still when the game hits the market and it gets played 10,000 times, not just 1,000, then there are some things that pop up that maybe could be tweaked a bit and fixed. And so I had that opportunity to go in and do that, and work with some of the advances, the technologies. There are 48 of them, and some of them got chosen more than others. So I had the opportunity to go in and make some of them a little more interesting. And my whole goal was to make the game even more accessible, streamlining it, but still making it very much recognizable to anybody who's a fan of the game. And then in the process, then he said, Christian, we want to do the Wonders. We want to do them as minis. And I was like, okay, because that was unthinkable when we did the first edition, having 7. Well, now it's actually 8 in this edition, but having 7 sculpts just for the Wonders, that was unthinkable at the time. But he just said, okay, let's do it. We want to do that, and that opened up some other opportunities, where the Wonders, as I mentioned, the cities they grow as you add buildings, but the Wonders, they were the small cardboard stands and not part of the city. Right. But when Sev wanted to do them as miniatures, then that allowed me to do what I couldn't do before, which was to add them to the cities as a part of the city, and that provided some new opportunities and changes to the rules, and then I also changed there were a few other things that bothered me. The leaders, the way they worked, was a little funky in the old version, but I streamlined that, so they work just as armies now, and barbarians, they were kind of abstracted before. They were there's a barbarian on the map, and then they would attack once in a radius. Well, now they actually move on the board. So it gave me some opportunity to go in and rebalance a few things, add some new things and just make the whole experience more whole. Because I knew that the expansion. I knew that there was an expansion now, so I could integrate that better into the base game that I could at the time when I had to expand the game. Well, now it's more of a whole. So yeah, streamlining it, but still very much the same kind of game, the same feel, and doing things a little smarter, maybe throwing away some rules that weren't really necessary, that were thematically good ideas, but weren't necessary for the kind of game. So throwing them out, things like that.
Gotcha. So can you, for the people watching who are really excited, what is a big thing besides, obviously I think the sculpted wonders are the thing I'm the most excited about, but what are some other things that fans can expect from this new edition that they might not be aware of?
Well, I don't know if there's something that if you're a fan of the game, you've probably been paying quite a lot of attention to what's new here. But I think one of the things that might surprise is how wonderful the game actually looks live when you sit with it, how it all comes together. The thing is, when you redesign graphically, when you do new graphics design on a game, an old game, and you do a new version, you're going to have a lot of differing opinions. Right. Some like the old better, some like the new better, some like some of the old, but some of the new, and things like that. And I was totally prepared for that, but I've been playing the game. I have a review copy myself, and I've been playing it, I think 12 or 15 games now, the past 2 months, and it just looks amazing. I just love the way it all comes together, and I think that might surprise some of the people who kind of in love with the old look. I think they will find that this looks really nice, and I think it will win a lot of people over once they start playing with the game.
Yeah, I've seen it live. It's definitely stunning, and I really love the way it looks. Would you say that kind of how everything comes together is what you're most proud of for this new edition, or is there something else even more that you're like, wow, I'm really, really proud of this?
It's the whole. I'm just really, really proud of the game, and of the design, from a mechanical point, but also the look, the product itself. I'm very, very proud of it. I was, when I got the copy in my hand, I was and it was and I loved the feel of everything, the look of everything, and just really happy with how it turned out.
So, the game was delayed several times, obviously the global shipping crisis and the pandemic, but you'd say it's worth the wait?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. But I understand that people are fed up with delays, and some people have been really excited, and then it doesn't come, but I understand that completely, but I hope that people will give it a chance, because I think they will really enjoy it. If old fans will, I'm sure, love the new version, and I think that a lot of, it's a game that's 8 years old, something like that. Right. And I think there are a lot of people that maybe didn't try the old edition, that a lot of new fans will find it to be a good game, I think.
I'm one of those new fans, and I think I've seen it. I haven't personally had a chance to play it because I haven't gotten a chance to get a group together to play it, but I've seen it played, and I've been part of the process of getting it together and photographed and all of that, and it just looks amazing, and I'm excited to actually get it to the table because it ticks every box, I think. So this is the question that I ask every designer who I bring on this show. I even asked Zeb this question last time, and he hated it because he had to pick, one of his babies, basically. What is your favorite WizKids game other than Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition?
Are you sure I can't say Clash of Cultures?
You can if you want to. I mean,
No, I like Mage Knight.
gotcha. Yeah, Mage Knight's great. I think, you designed a classic. Mage Knight is also a classic, so it makes sense that that would be your favorite. Christian, is there
It
anything?
is, and I actually when we did the the look of what will the board look like.
Right.
Mage Knight was one of the boards that we took a look at and see, okay, how can we make a cool looking terrain, and Mage Knight has that.
I love that. That's awesome. So, is there anything else you wanted to mention while I have you here?
No, not really. Other than I'm really excited that the game is out in less than a month now.
Yes.
And I can't wait to see people playing it. I'm really looking forward to the reviews, and I'm really excited for this game, and I hope that people will enjoy it.
We are definitely just as excited. Christian, thank you so much. For everyone watching, Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition is going to be hitting stores October 13th, 2021. You can expect to start seeing reviews hitting the airwaves next week. I am going to be unboxing the game live on stream next week, so definitely tune in if you want to see a great unboxing. I will fix my technical difficulties by then. I promise it's going to be great. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day. Just real quick, kind of our little sign off here. I hope everyone has a wonderful, safe, and healthy week. I love you. Christian loves you. WizKids loves you. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye.